Um, so I am not going to try to convince you today that you should worry about security. You should worry about security. My mom has to worry about security. She called me and she said my website's been hacked. And she just kept saying, I don't know why anyone would hack my website. And nobody tried to hack her website, they just ran a bot and found it and exploited it. So everyone knows they should worry about security. And if they don't, then they should know. But when should you worry about security? And of course, the proper answer is you should always worry about security. But I mean, when should you be really worrying about security? So if you went to Richard's talk earlier, it's going to look really similar. So ideally, maybe this is kind of what it looks like. You write your code, you run some tests, you commit your code, it pushes up to a continuous integration server, then maybe someone reviews the code, there's some QA, and then it gets deployed. If that's not what it looks like, that's what we're going to go with for today. So this red line is basically the cost, total cost for fixing defects at some point in this process. So clearly, if you just type some code and you notice something's wrong, you can fix it and it's really cheap. It takes like 2 seconds. But of course, sometimes you have to fix things after code is deployed, and the cost there is even higher. So when do we do code review or security review? Usually out here somewhere. How many of you guys do use some kind of automated tool for checking the security of your application? And it's not Brakeman. Okay. How many of those are dynamic scanners? Alright. So generally you have to be kind of out here. Maybe you can be running it right before you deploy code on your staging environment. Maybe you run it as part of QA. Maybe during code review. But anything before that, I mean, you have to set up a web server and database. You have to have it running to run a dynamic scan on it. So what we really like to do is just keep pushing this back. Maybe when it gets pushed to continuous integration, that's where we can get some kind of security tool in there. Maybe as people commit code, which is almost like continuous integration, but maybe a little bit earlier we could do it. Maybe as part of tests we could do it. Maybe we can push it even further up and do it as people save their code. So that is where we want to go, and this is how we're going to get there. So Brakeman is a tool, static analysis security tool. I started working on it as an intern at AT&T Interactive. Then I worked on it as a full-time employee at AT&T Interactive. And now I work on it at Twitter. So it has a lot of development time behind it and lots of time for me to fix bugs. The website is brakemanScanner.org. It's on GitHub, and you can follow it on Twitter, of course. So this is the tagline I like: zero configuration security scanning. This is what you do. You install it, you go to your Rails application, and then you type Brakeman. If you do that, you'll get some kind of output like this. It doesn't matter what it says exactly, but it'll look like this, which is good for a quick look, but generally a little bit better way is to look at the HTML report. So if you add -o and some file name with .html, you'll get a report that looks kind of like this. There's usually more sections to it. And if we take a look at one of the warnings, it looks something like this. We have a confidence rating, which basically means how likely is it that this is a real problem. It's not 100%, it's just a guideline. Over here, you can see it. That's just kind of telling you, oh, this was found in that view. Underneath, in parentheses, that means that this view is actually rendered from this method in this controller. This is the warning type, cross-site scripting. You're going to get a line number, and then a little piece of code that says, oh, okay, this is where we found the problem, potential problem. So in the HTML report, if you click kind of where it says unescape parameter, the code there will kind of expand out like this. You can see, okay, unescape parameter value, this is Rails 2 application. Here's the parameter, but if we look at line 5, that's actually not what's there. So that's kind of weird. So the key to why Brakeman is going to be better than any tool in terms of, oh, I'm just going to like search for some stuff, is static analysis. And if you want to learn lots about static analysis in Ruby, Michael Edgar's talk last year, I think at RubyConf was really good. I'm not going to talk that much about it because Brakeman is not that sophisticated. It is just sophisticated enough. Static analysis is anything that can determine about a program without actually executing it. It's not everything, it's just anything. So that could be, you know, oh, I'm just going to search the source code, or it could be, I'm going to build these crazy control flow graphs and do all this crazy stuff. And of course, Brakeman's in the middle of those two extremes. You might say, wait, Ruby is way too dynamic for that. You can never understand my code, because I do stuff like this. And of course that's true, but it doesn't really matter because you're not going to write code like that often. And all we really care about is Rails applications. So you don't have to know everything, you just have to know a few things. Most of the action happens right here. I'm sorry, this is kind of small. Controller, view, and the partials. That's where almost everything happens. So if we just focus on that, maybe we can get somewhere. So it was very simple. We said, all right, assuming this is Rails 2, here we are in a view, we're outputting a parameter directly, classic cross-site scripting. I bet anyone could write something that could find that. That's really obvious. But it's a place to start. So once we have that working, all right, so now we're in a controller up here. We're just going to assign this parameter to the user, and then we're outputting it. But, I mean, it seems pretty simple because user's right there, user's right there, so we just kind of move this in here. Now we're back to the first case and we can find it, no problem. So what Brakeman does is a really simple data flow. So this is like a really contrived example. So here we're going to set user to params user, and then we're going to use it right here. So obviously we just do this. Now user ID, is right there. So we'll do this. All right, now we're getting somewhere. All right, now current user, we're setting it, we're using it. So we'll just move that there. Sorry, it's small. Now, okay, we're using that user variable in there, so we'll just put that there. Oh, shoot, this went past it. I knew that was going to happen. All right, so in the end, we get this, and now we can really easily check that there's mass assignment happening right there. So that is essentially what's behind most of what Brakeman does, and why it is very effective at finding things. Here's a sample of things you can find. Whoa. Man. Keep paying lots for this. All right. So cross-site scripting, of course, SQL injection, command injection, unrestricted mass assignment, redirects, file access, all sorts of stuff. Onwards. So in terms of how fast this is, not that long ago, running on inventory here, which is 66, this is a little shorthand here, 66 controllers, 58 models, 688 views and partials. That used to take like 20 minutes. And I used to do my test case, I'd be like, all right, it can't go over 20 minutes for inventory because no one will use this tool. But now it runs in about a minute, so that's pretty good. Twitter, on the main Twitter application, it takes a little bit under 2 minutes. Redmine, about 20 seconds to run, typo, 5 seconds. So that should give you some idea. It doesn't take that long to run. You just type Brakeman, wait maybe 2 minutes and you should get some results. If you don't, there's probably a little bit. And you should tell me. Alright, so back to this. Alright, so we can run Brakeman out here, of course. That's pretty obvious. We could add it as a step before we deploy code. That makes sense. QA, you can run it as part of your code review. You could run it on your continuous integration server. And if you happen to be using Jenkins, then there's a plugin, you can use pretty graphs. Not a real application. You get these reports, you basically drill down into different stuff. Lots of different ways of viewing the data. You get this kind of information, like there's new warnings, and if there's fixed warnings. You can also set it to alert you when there's warnings, or if they go over a particular threshold, it'll mark the build as failed. And you can have this in your email. So that's really good for running on a continuous integration server. If you have some other kind of continuous integration server or want to set it up in some way, you can just run Brakeman like this. This is like the absolute simplest code, but you won't actually see anything from this. You can get the report out of this any way you want, HTML or JSON or whatever, or just have it print, just like running a Brakeman command. So very easy to include in any kind of application that you're using, maybe when you push to the server. All right, back to this again. All right, so that's pretty good. You can run it when you push code. You can run it when you commit the code. Certainly run it as part of your tests. It actually comes with a rake task. You can run Brakeman --rake in your Rails application group, and it'll add a rake task, and then you can run Brakeman run, which seems like a longer way of typing Brakeman, but if you're running a bunch of rake stuff, it may be useful for you. There's also an option you can add a file name if you want to output to a file from Brakeman. This is what I like to call hardcore mode. If you run Brakeman -z, then if you have any warnings at all, it will return an error code other than 0. So you can drop that in your continuous integration tests, and you should be pretty good to go. Not a lot of applications can run like that, but if you want to be hardcore, that's the way to go. New feature just released recently. If you output your report to JSON, and then there's some changes, and you run Brakeman again, you can run it with --compare report JSON, or whatever your file name was, and it will spit back some JSON that gives you the number of the warnings that were fixed, and then the new warnings that were introduced. So at Twitter, we use that basically as part of our checks that are run before you push the code. And that runs, so you can run it against your current branch and the master branch, and it'll tell you if you've introduced some new problems or if you fixed some issues. All right, but I promised even better than that. So we actually want it right here. So you probably have an idea where this is going. So Brakeman supports really fast rescanning of changed files with the small caveat that the scan has to be kept in memory. So the example I showed before with comparing JSON, it's not going to work because we're running Brakeman twice, and the rescanning doesn't support that. But Guard supports that. So Neil Matatal wrote a Guard plugin. You can add it to your Zoom file like this. This is guarded at Brakeman. That will set up the guard file with the appropriate file action. And you start guard. You probably have the bundle exactly in front of those, but maybe not. So I know you can't see this, so I'm going to narrate for you. You just started guard. You got a notification right here, 10 Brakeman findings. You're going to go in, write some code, press save. All right, he's introduced a new warning. Immediate feedback. All right, now he's fixed it, yay. So this is sort of the output from guard, for the new warnings and the current warnings. See some warnings here, it's a mass assignment. So it's going to go into the model. Just got attribute accessible here, hit save. Immediately you get feedback that there were some fixed warnings. So that is about as close as you can get to testing as you write the code. Of course, there are some caveats. This is something I mess up on all the time. Just because you get a warning does not mean there's a vulnerability there. That is just true for all static analysis security tools. It can only point you to where there's probably a problem. Corollary to that, zero warnings does not mean there are no vulnerabilities in your code. So just because you run Brakeman-D, hardcore mode, and it's like, everything's good, that doesn't mean very much at all, to be honest. Brakeman is not a machine. Sometimes people are like, oh, why is it saying that? I mean, obviously, like in this helper over here, I'm doing something and it counteracts that. And, you know, it's just the nature of static analysis that it can't know everything. And remember, it cannot scan the entire Rails stack. You would be there for days waiting for that to finish. So just keep that in mind. Supports Rails 2 and 3. So when I started writing this, it was written for Rails 2, and a lot of people are still on Rails 2. It also supports Rails 3. It'll support Ruby 1.8. I don't know if it supports 1.8.6 still. At one point it did. I'm not 100% on that, because hopefully no one's using 1.8.6 still. But it will support 1.8.7. And 1.9, of course, it'll run on JRuby. It actually runs really nicely on JRuby. Rubinius, there were some problems a while ago. I don't know if it's fixed or not. So I think I went through that really fast. Yeah. So, questions? Yes?
Are there any plans on adding a blessings feature for false positives?
Say that again?
Are there any plans on adding a blessings feature?
Okay. So thank you for asking that question. Everyone asks about false positives. So yes. So Dave from High Group Studios has been working on adding a system of marking false positives. It's a hard problem, actually. It's not as easy as like, just don't show me that warning anymore. Because if you add a comment at the top of a file, now all line numbers have changed. All your code is shifted down. If you're, the worst thing you can do is say, this is a false positive. And it is. And then a little bit later, there's a real problem. And because you mark something as a false positive, now it's hidden. But it's coming. But ideally, it shouldn't really even be part of Brakeman. It should be part of an external tool that deals with Brakeman findings. But everybody wants it, so it will be included in the future. Other questions? I apologize for the 20-minute talk. Yes?
Regarding the piece of GitHub security issue,
Yes.
Brakeman and contact.
So the question was, would Brakeman have caught the recent mass assignment issue on GitHub? I have no idea because I don't know what their code looks like, and no one from GitHub has said, yes, it totally would have found that. However, it does a lot of checks for mass assignment, and even if you're not using mass assignment, it will let you know that you have models where you're not restricting it. So it can't comment on their specific situation, but there's a good possibility that it would have found it, yes. Other questions? How many people are going to go and use it now? All right, everyone always says that. All right, if you have any other questions about it, please come and let me know. Obviously, I should have prepared more slides. Who wants to see a demo? All right. All right, so, wow. All right, so this is so if we go, what's the preference, Rails 2 or Rails 3 or 3.1? 3. Someone said 4? Not supported yet. It will be when it comes out. All right, so this is my alias for Brakeman. Hopefully I'm running with the right. All right. So this is kind of what you get. So notice detected Rails 3 application because, like I said, it was built for Rails 2 originally. Running with 193. So escaping HTML by default because it's Rails 3. Processing everything. These are all the checks that it's going to run. And the checks are actually run in parallel. So that's why JRuby does really well, since it has nice real threads. You get like this nice little summary. This is where it ran. This was the Rails version that was detected, not the Rails version that may be installed on your machine. These are all the checks that were run. You get a nice little summary. The number in parentheses is the number of high confidence warnings. A little summary of the warning tags that were found. Then you get this. And then over on the right, you can see basically everything gets cut off, which is terrible. Things are kind of split up between warnings, which doesn't make any sense, but in the code that's what it looks like. And then warnings more specific to controllers, and then some warnings about the models, and then warnings that were found in views. So if we do this, let me just do the HTML import, and then open that up. Looks like this. All right, so same information up here. Get our summary, warning types, and then here we have warnings, tells you what class, what method it's in, warning type, and then here, so a brand new feature in Brakeman 1.6, it'll highlight the value that it's actually warning on. It doesn't do that if that's the entire warning. If I can find an example. Alright, so it doesn't highlight this because it would just be highlighting the whole thing. Alright, back up here. Alright, so for example here, possible command injection. We're interpolating the query parameter directly into the command that we're running with the backticks. And you think, I would never do that. Some people will do that, don't worry. So it gives you the file name right here. Obviously this is a test application. And we're doing it right here. The lines that are highlighted in red, the light pink it's probably nearby the problem, and the dark pink is probably the problem. Sometimes Brakeman uses Ruby parser for parsing Ruby code, and sometimes the line numbers are slightly off. Plus, there's magical stuff that happens when you run ERB, camel, and those. Just shout out any questions if you have them. Yes? So, not really. So, the question was, would it support restricting the attributes in the controller rather than in the model? Is that the, yeah. So, not really. It's probably going to warn if you're using any type of user input in one of the mass assignment methods. It'll probably be a lower confidence warning. I haven't tried it exactly. Other questions? Okay. So if we take a look at another one, this one, too obvious. Warning here about default routes for a particular controller. So that's, no, I guess it's all controllers. Let's see, this is pretty obvious. The tests are kind of obvious. Let's see. An example of warning on mass assignment. All right, here's a really simple example showing the data flow. So here we're setting the URL to the params. It could happen. Then we're setting only path to false. And then we're calling URL for the URL, and then we're redirecting to it. So Brakeman will warn on this because you're saying normally URL 4 would be restricted to the domain, but you're explicitly setting only path to false. So you'll get a warning on that because someone could use that to redirect to anywhere on the internet. Anything anyone would like to see in particular? Any other questions? All right, that's pretty much it. Say that? Yeah. So the question was, how well does it handle metaprogramming in terms of like adding methods at runtime? No. So the only reason that Brakeman can even really exist is because Rails is so particular about, that there's a convention for everything. And some of that is, well, it really is just a convention and you could do other things. If you do, Brakeman will probably not work very well for you. On the other hand, some things are like really built into Rails, like your controllers are called something controller, right? So that allows a tool like Brakeman to exist. If it weren't like that, then it would be highly unlikely that you could write a static analysis tool for Rails. Yes?
So the role of one of those things like simple injection and XSS are really about taking user input.
Correct.
So aside from having like a user input sampling model, are there any other tricks you have?
Okay, so the question was, are there any other tricks it does besides tracking user input? I don't know that I would call them tricks. So sort of the variable propagation through data flow that I showed earlier handles almost everything. So most of the magic comes from that. There aren't really any other tricks that I would say. The one thing, so it does do things like calling before, well, not calling before filters, but looking at before filters. It tracks from an action all the way through views and the partials. And so that's really where the value comes from. Because anybody could really look at a view and be like, oh, you're outputting the query parameters right there. That's obvious. But if you're in a view and it's just a variable, not even an instance variable, just a variable, then looking at that and going, okay, I know that in this controller, this variable is set to that, and then there's a view, and it calls render, and it sets the local variable to this. Brakeman can take care of that for you. And the nice thing about using a tool is it will always do it exactly the same way. You know, a human looking at something, you know, we're just going to be like, yeah, that looks all right, you know, deploy it. But a tool is tireless. So that's why dropping it into continuous integration, or as part of your deploy process, or like your build process, it's a little bit of a safety net. It does do, with the data flow, it will do simple things like, if it looks like you're building a hash, it'll set the hash values. So like I showed with the user, oh, actually, now I forget which one of these it was, but with the URL for, should be, I guess it would be redirect. Alright, so like here. So params is treated as a hash, and when you do this assignment to a hash key, then Brakeman goes, okay, I'll keep that in there. And if someone tries to access that key, then I'll return that value that was assigned to it. So it does things like that. It'll do simple addition. It kind of deals with arrays. If you're building an array, if you're concatenating string literals, it will actually do that, because I've had issues where, you know, someone got a value from here and put it there, and if it wasn't putting those strings together, then you wouldn't find them all. Any other questions? All right, well, I have continued my streak of performing a live demo at every one of these talks. So if you have any further questions, please feel free to talk to me. If you run Brakeman and there's an error, if it crashes, if it pings, if it does anything weird, let me know. File an issue, join the mailing list, tweet me on Twitter. Whatever you need to do, please let me know if it breaks, because there are millions of Rails apps out there, and trying to cover all the cases, you know, with some subset that I know of is impossible. So go to the website, download the source code, install it, run it,